Welcome back to Cow Park Bros. Jason and I are fresh off the segment involving the brutal um, murder. I feel pretty comfortable saying that that's murder um, of police officer Ella French. Um, please send us your feedback, your thoughts on that particular discussion regarding the Chicago police shooting of Ella French. CowParkBros at gmail.com. This segment, we're going to be talking about something, frankly, a little lighter. I mean, fortunately, nobody was killed in this scenario. It's just somebody lost out on some money because they can't keep their mouth shut. So we're going to talk about rapper DaBaby and how he literally talked himself out of a headline gig at Lollapalooza. So apparently, during his performance at the Rolling Loud Music Festival in Miami, he made false and this is per CNN. He made false and insulting comments about gay men and HIV, and spoke crudely about women as well. His comments were widely condemned as homophobic, though some supported him. Now, this is once I saw this, I was like, oh boy, DaBaby's in trouble. This is rapper T.I. If you're gonna have the little Nas X video and him living his truth, you're going to damn sure have people like DaBaby who are going to speak their truth. T.I. said on Instagram about rapper Lil Nas X being openly gay. Ain't nothing wrong with none of it. It ain't got to be no hate. It's all honesty. Everybody living in their truth. Jason, as soon as I found out that T.I. was effectively co-signing this shit, I felt like DaBaby was about to lose out on more gigs because I feel like T.I. and his damn $10 words are going to get this guy in more hot water than he already was.
What you trying to say about T.I.?
I'm trying to
the street legend.
I'm trying to say that while I respect T.I.'s rap acumen, that motherfucker need to shut up. At least if he considers DaBaby like an actual ally and a friend, and he wants to be a good friend, be quiet. Because he's already gotten kicked off of Lala. He's probably going to get kicked out of a few more venues potentially. Does DaBaby know it's fucking 2021 and you can't just say random shit about homosexuals like this?
I want to say, yeah, he knew that, but I just think maybe he didn't get he had a moment of not thinking, you know. But just so we're clear, for those of you who haven't heard about this situation, I have been thinking all day, like, should I actually read his comments? Should I muffle it and blur it out? But I'll think about that as I'm saying this. But basically, if everybody's been to a concert, you know there's certain points at the show to where like you're in between songs, he's trying to keep the crowd hyped up and engaged, whatnot. So for example, an artist might say, how's everybody doing in the crowd tonight? And of course, hoping everybody might yell. Or if y'all having a good time, let me hear you make some noise. And of course, people might start yelling. So from what I gather with the video and the texting of the messaging and whatnot, I'm like, I think that's what this kind of was, like a period of this point where he's trying to get the people engaged, But basically, what he wound up saying at the Rolling Loud performance is, this is quotes, by the way, if you didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS, or any of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases that'll make you die in 2 or 3 weeks, then put your cell phone lighter up. Ladies, and again, this is all quotes, not me saying this. Ladies, if your pussy smell like water, put your cell phone lighter up. And then last line, fellas, if you ain't sucking dick in the parking lot, put your cell phone lighter up. So when I heard that that's what he said, what came to my mind was, what didn't come to my mind was, this is so offensive or this is homophobic. And we'll talk about that later too. But my thought is, what was the point of saying that? What? What is this supposed to mean? What do you mean by this? Why are you saying that? To me, it just didn't make any sense. It just sounded so stupid, number one. I'm like, what was the point of this? Is this supposed to get somebody fired up? I know later on, I found an article on Billboard that kind of lists like the timeline of all this stuff that happened to him when it comes to backlash, supports, all stuff like that. And they mentioned, and which I know we'll talk about, mentioned that apparently all the people that were there, including according to DaBaby, his gay fans were also putting their lighters up too because it didn't apply to them because they have class. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so all those other people that he's talking about, that if you're doing that stuff, you ain't got no class. So um, it, as I'm hearing more about this and getting ready to talk about this now and today, it really just sounds ignorant, just straight. Like, what are you talking about, bro? For real, you know, making yeah, it just made no sense completely. But I know we're gonna go into it. You mentioned Ti was supporting them. Other rappers have joined in support, and not that this makes anything he said, valid. But like you said, Ti supporting him. What's his name? Little Boosie was supporting him apparently.
Well, that's
Uh,
I
yeah, exactly.
thank you, Boosie. I feel much better now.
I know, right? Exactly. Now that I mean, getting backed up by Ti is one thing, but now little Boosie stepping up for you, I think we all need to back up off the baby and let it be okay. Little Boosie said it's all right, then I think America should say it's all right too.
Yep.
But now there's been some other artists that haven't exactly supported him per se, but more like they're kind of wanting to, instead of like canceling the baby, do more about educating him on the ignorance. I know Elton John said something like that. Miley Cyrus, um, and again, not say Miley Cyrus is the beacon of humanity here, but you
Hashtag
know,
beacon of humanity. I like it.
okay. But yeah, so now obviously there's people kind of coming back against them. Questlove, Madonna, Dua Lipa's done some canceling of him as well. Uh, Something about Nick Cannon was saying something as well. He might have been somebody that's supporting him. And you mentioned Lollapalooza dropped him, but also the Governor's Ball in New York City, that music festival there, they dropped him as well. Um, so, and apparently there's a festival in Las Vegas. Was it Las Vegas Festival Day or something like that? Also dropped them from the lineup as well. Um, yeah. Now, one point I do want to put out here before you jump in is that even via Instagram, the baby actually kind of backed up his comments. I'm not gonna read what he said in that, but he backed up his comments, kind of making this stance like, "Hey, I said this. This is what I meant. Wasn't anti this, anti that, whatever." And then of course he started getting dropped from certain things. People started, coming at him and whatnot. And he actually apologized I think on Instagram again. But eventually, once stuff started happening to him, still kept getting dropped, more people coming at him. Apparently he deleted that apology
Oh my
from
god.
Instagram. So yeah. So it made me think real quick, like your original stance, how you really felt. The apology is only so your money wasn't getting hurt too bad, which I'm sure is probably too late now. And then your removal of the apology was going back to what you really thought. Like, you know what, this apology ain't working.
So that's wild, man. That he put out the apology. Like he literally just tried to finesse his way out of this shit and thought that it was going to be all good with the social media post, and people were just going to forget that he literally tried to infer that HIV/AIDS would have you dead in 3 weeks. Like, I feel like he tried to break out like all the throwback horrible things that we've said about homosexuals, and AIDS and HIV and all the stigmas, and he just tried to put those on Front Street and act like shit was all good. And I feel like he got fried appropriately. Like, don't talk about cancel culture. Like, he said something pretty fucking heinous. He got fried for it. And it's like nobody ever learns. Like, you can't just say stupid shit like that at a fucking concert and think that you're gonna, number one, if you're gonna say something like that, one, what is your objective here? If your objective is that, oh, I just hate fucking money, and I like, what is the point? You know? Like, we've been going on about this, and we really didn't get too much into whatever horrible shit he said about women, because it pales in comparison to what he said about homosexuals,
Well, I missed
right?
that. What'd he say?
Well, I think it was just the inference of a certain type of woman. Like, he was not going to get fried for that, because nobody gives a fuck about that. But if you try to infer that homosexuals are unclean, of homosexuals, basically they're all carrying the HIV/AIDS virus, and that basically they'll die in 3 weeks, and you're doing this at a fucking concert?
At which some of those people are probably at the concert, as you mentioned in your, stance.
Yeah, it was it was so heinous because not only was it horrible, but the fact is he tried to double down on it after the fact. It's like, I feel like the response was amplified because he tried to finesse his way out of the criticism, which made it made it worse. You know, he it's this is the equivalent of if you are of a certain age and had to deal with capital punishment as a child. This is the equivalent of move your hand, and the ass whipping is just 10 times worse now because you keep fucking twisting around and all that shit. I'm like, DaBaby was literally that child that the ass whipping got worse because he wouldn't just sit there and fucking take it. And he needs a friend, or at least a fucking PR team that says, hey man, you can't put shit out there on social media like literally days within you saying that type of fuckery and thinking that people are just going to stand for that.
Let me ask you a question, Terrence, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
In his comments, well, let me say let me say this where the question is coming from. So I mentioned Questlove earlier when it comes to celebrities that were condemning DaBaby. Apparently, Questlove from the group The Roots apparently made like an Instagram post where he said, "Right is right and his actions are wrong." He insisted. Somebody got to say it. Homophobia, transphobia, xenophobia, misogyny, racism. This should go without saying is morally wrong. Again, I mentioned earlier that I feel like his comments were really ignorant and stupid when it comes, like you mentioned, the whole AIDS thing, dying in 2 or 3 weeks, which we know clearly isn't the case. Um,
That's why it's dangerous.
right.
Like,
I
you
mean, well,
shouldn't be saying shit like that in the year of our Lord 2021, because not only, and yeah, I don't want to try and make light of the fact that, oh, because he's a rapper, that he just gets to say dumb shit. That's how I feel about flat earthers. It's like, listen, Kyrie Irving doesn't get a fucking pass about saying the earth is flat just because he plays basketball. Fuck that.
well, I guess my question was going to be is when you heard what he said, did your mind automatically go to this is just ignorant statements, or did you go to these statements are homophobic and offensive? And the reason why I asked that, because I might have mentioned it the other day or yesterday, that I personally don't understand how they're homophobic and or offensive. But I also said that it's not for me to understand that because I'm not the one they're offensive towards, or again, I'm not in the LGBT community. So maybe I just don't understand it from that point. I love to understand. I'm not saying they're not, or I'm saying to anybody that thinks that they're wrong. But when you read those comments, is that what your mind went to? Offensive and homophobic, or more just idiotic and stupid and like, what are you talking about? And ignorant, you know?
Well, first off, I'm gonna say it's at least 68% dangerous and stupid. And the rest is just idiotic. And the reason why I say that is because the United States has a history of not taking the AIDS epidemic fucking serious in the first place. This should sound real familiar, by the way.
We
That's how
don't
we got.
now either. Yeah, we don't now. So yeah.
No. We take it pretty fucking serious,
No, we don't.
actually.
No, we
Yes, we do.
don't. No, I bet you we. Well, wait. When you say America, you talking about like the government and stuff like that, or its citizens in particular?
I'm actually mentioning a little bit of both. But in the case of AIDS and HIV, the reason why we had the epidemic in the first place is because we tried to make it a gay community issue. It was only their problem. And ergo, if you're not gay, you don't have to fucking worry about it. That's the problem. That was the failing of our government, our president, our administration almost 40 years ago. Okay? You can thank Reagan for that.
You mean the great Ronald Reagan? Hashtag sarcasm.
He was not great in that regard. Okay? If you consider yourself to be a proponent of Ronald Reagan's policies in regard to the AIDS epidemic, sorry, kids, he failed. All right? That L resides strictly in the Ronald Reagan column because that's what we made it. That's what we effectively messaged it as a homosexual male problem. And basically, if you were not in that community, then you got to just pretend like, oh, it's above me now. That's why what DaBaby said was so fucking dangerous. Because he's parroting dumb shit from 40 years ago. And his platform, while nowhere near as high as the former president of the United States, people do listen. People do act or don't act when certain people within the entertainment community say things. And I, for one, am not going to give anyone a pass.
I wasn't insinuating that anybody should get a pass, including this dude. I wouldn't. I don't want to put out there. Not that Terrence was saying that, but I definitely was not insinuating in any way whatsoever that he should get a pass. Not,
No.
and that's what I'm saying, and I'm not going to agree to that either. So,
Yep.
FYI.
No. I was just going full oratory, man. I mean, I feel like, when you've heard so many heinous things said about, and especially being black men, and knowing that, Jason, I can't speak for you, but I know there are gay men in my family that didn't feel accepted, that did not feel um, supported within our community. And unfortunately, while we are big rap fans, and this really isn't about DaBaby's actual fucking music, it really isn't. It has very little to do with that.
It's probably
Who gives,
trash anyway.
who gives a fuck? You like DaBaby, you like Kirk, great. This has nothing to fucking do with that. This is about the man who who has a platform. He still does. His platform is not as big because he said something fucking stupid. His platform's not as big because he didn't understand the stakes of what he said. That is where we are now. If he didn't understand the stakes of what he said and the responsibilities, I'm like, man, look, you can't legislate what's in people's heart, but you can legislate the shit that people say and act on. That's what you can legislate. That's what you actually can hold people accountable to. If you're dumb enough to say it or do it and have that shit on wax, you can bet your ass that they'll be coming for you. And in this case, they did. If the worst had happened that he missed out on Lala in a basically fucking kind of weird COVID year, he got off light. Kevin Hart was fucking stupid and he missed out on Oscars at the height of his powers. So, with, I don't know, quote unquote, good behavior and basically, I don't even want to call it sensitivity training. I'm just saying, dude, just fucking give it a rest for a minute. Like, actually replay what the fuck you said. It's offensive to humanity to try and infer that basically gay men are dirty, that basically certain type of women are unclean. Like, we didn't even get into that. Like, we could have had fucking 20 minutes on that, basically saying you can't be a rapper talking the shit about sex the way that DaBaby does, and then try to claim the moral high ground. You know what I'm saying? Like, 12 gauge was fucking, a good 25 years ago, okay? Love that shit. Don't don't go there, because you want those women at your fucking shows anyway. I'm not exactly sure what his objective was. If his whole enterprise's MO is, hey, let's see how much money we could make. It hasn't been a good week or 10 days for that. Sorry, champ.
The thank you for that. Definitely, I definitely have a little insight in regards to how people might look at what he said as offensive or homophobic. I definitely understand that a lot better now. But I'm gonna end with just so I can put it out there. We mentioned more than once when it comes to him doubling down and backing up his comments, and then his apology, and obviously eventually deleting the apology. But I actually want to read off what he actually said when he comes to doubling it down, and then also read what he put in the apology if I can find that. But particularly, let me go back here. In the videos posted on to this Instagram story back on the 26th of July, he stood by his comments. He said his words were nothing more than a call to action, and that though, well, again, this is him doubling down, but though, nothing more than a call to action, and that those who didn't see his show in person, though it was live streamed, should shut the fuck up. Excuse me. Again, that's a quote. But that wasn't all. My gay fans, they take care of themselves. They ain't no nasty gay niggas. See what I'm saying? They know junkies in the street. The hell you talking about, niggas? Then I said, if you ain't sucking dick in the parking lot, you putting the cell phone lighter up. You know what my gay fans did? They put their cell phone lighter up because my gay fans ain't going for that. They got class. They ain't doing that in the parking lot. So forth and so forth. So again, that's him backing down, doubling down on what he said. And by the way, like I said, that was on the 26th. He made his performance on the 25th, so he pretty much was doubling down on that immediately. Okay. Uh, Again, and he apologized. Now, again, funnily, the apology came a day later. After that, on July 27th. Yeah, July 27th. Anybody who done ever been affected by AIDS, HIV, y'all got the right to be upset. What I said was insensitive, even though I have no intentions on offending anybody. So my apologies.
Oh my god!
Wait. In another tweet, he insisted that people who weren't in attendance got things twisted. But yeah, that was basically his apology that came 2 days after his original comments and a day after him, doubling down on those comments. And again, that was July 27th when they apologized. And the deletion of the apology, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't a day later or anything.
It was just a short. You can say it.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's why. Apparently, he didn't delete him until like August 7th or 8th, supposedly. Whatever, blah 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 blah.
Oh my god, he couldn't even do that shit on time. My god.
Right. So yeah. So everybody's calling. Some people are calling for education for him, educate him more on what why he said was wrong. Some people are calling to delete him. Whatever. But I agree with you that I think with good behavior, as you call it, we've seen that people, America is willing to take people back in if they're willing to apologize and man up to their what they did was wrong. And after him deleting the apology, I'm not sure. And obviously, it's up to every individual, but I'm not sure what it's going to take now for him to get back in those good graces. Now that he apologized, but then deleted it for whatever reason. Yeah. So good luck to him and your future endeavors. Like the WWE always says to people when they release somebody, DaBaby, good luck into your future endeavors. If it's in rap, great. If it's not, I'm sure your local Kroger will have plenty of people that they need for bagging groceries. So
Oh my God, Jason, that's amazing. Yeah, he's not gonna do rap anymore. He's gonna have to do fucking rock and roll. He's gonna have to do some alternative shit like Machine Gun Kelly because Eminem made him fucking leave.
Hey, you can get to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame any type of genre as long as you're good, but rap might not be it for him. So
Yep. Maybe he's got a role with the Cleveland Guardians at some point.
maybe he can be like a producer, or something. Not even a producer. Maybe he can like clean up the studio. Maybe they'll give him an award for that or something. I don't know. Mopping
Yeah,
floors.
yeah. Sensitivity training is highly recommended here on the Cal Park Bros. All right, I think we've effectively addressed that, and I look forward to DaBaby Stan hate mail in the future. So, coming up next, we're going to be talking about federal ban on evictions being lifted. It is now extended until October. We're going to talk about just the housing market in general. Coming up next on Cal Park Bros.